Welcome back to Red Flag Radio, where secrets simmer, drama erupts, and the truth always comes out. Today's story, buckle up. We're diving into the wild tale of a bride-to-be who reported her future mother-in-law to the IRS during her own engagement party. And if you think that's bad, wait until you hear the twist. This one's called A.I.T.A. for reporting my fiancé's mom for tax fraud. During our engagement party, let's get into it. I never thought I'd be that person. You know, the one who detonates their own engagement like a soap opera plot twist during the actual party. But here we are. I'm 28F, engaged to David, 30M. We've been together for 4 years, met through friends, moved in after a year, and honestly, it was easy, comfortable, like slipping into your favorite hoodie. David's smart, kind, just the right amount of sarcastic. The kind of guy who remembers your Starbucks order and your dog's birthday. Things were going great until Janice entered the picture. David's mom, the queen of passive-aggressive compliments, designer scarves, and unsolicited advice. You know the type. She smiles like she's on a magazine cover, wide, white, and completely hollow. Says things like, "Oh, wow, you're wearing that color. So brave." Or, "You have such a pretty face. If only you'd do something about those eyebrows." At first, I wrote it off as overbearing mother-in-law syndrome. Annoying, yes. Unusual. Not really, but Janice wasn't just catty. She was cocky, the kind of woman who thinks she's the smartest person in the room. And most of the time she is. She owns an interior design firm. High-end clients, big money, flashy lifestyle. And she loves to humble brag about how clever she is with money. I remember this one time we were sitting by her infinity pool. Yes, she has one, sipping overpriced rosé. And she goes, "You know, if you know the system, you can beat the system. I haven't paid full taxes since 2012. She winked, David chuckled. Me? I kind of laughed, but mostly just blinked. Was she serious? Then came the moment that changed everything. Family dinner. Long table, expensive wine, everyone just a little too tipsy. Janice lifts her glass and casually drops this little bomb. Honestly, I write off everything. Spa days, business research, my Botox, client-facing upkeep. Even the dog's food, he's technically emotional support." She laughed. Everyone else laughed. David's sister nearly choked on her risotto. I did not laugh. I sat there, wine glass frozen halfway to my lips, thinking, wait, what? Isn't that, like, illegal? That night, while everyone else was playing Cards Against Humanity and screaming with laughter, I was sitting quietly with my phone under the table, Googling, searching, reading way too much about IRS whistleblower tips and Schedule C deductions. And the deeper I went, the clearer it became. Janice wasn't just bending the rules. She was snapping them in half, with designer heels and a martini in hand. That night, I couldn't sleep. David was snoring beside me like nothing had happened, like his mom hadn't just casually confessed to federal crimes between bites of lemon tart. Meanwhile, I was wide awake, lying stiff as a corpse, staring at the ceiling like it had answers. Every word Janice said kept echoing in my head. Even the dog's food, he's technically emotional support. Spa days, business research, Botox, client-facing upkeep. It wasn't just what she said. It was the way she said it. Confident, drunk on power and Pinot Noir, like the laws of the land were just suggestions for other people. At first, I tried to brush it off. I mean, people exaggerate, right? But the more I thought about it, the more my gut told me something wasn't right. I had a pit in my stomach the size of a grapefruit, and it wasn't from the risotto. So I did what any rational person would do when faced with potential white-collar crime. I grabbed my phone, slid out of bed, and tiptoed into the bathroom like I was about to commit a heist. And that's when I went full FBI. First, I searched, can you write off spa days as a business expense? Short answer? Number, then. Tax deduction fraud, small business owner consequences, penalties, audits, fines, even jail time. I kept digging, forums, tax law blogs, IRS whistleblower information pages. It was like falling down a rabbit hole. And at the bottom, a whole pile of shady write-offs and possible felonies. She wasn't just bending the rules. She was building a career out of breaking them. And I don't mean some gray area corner cutting. I mean full-on intentional tax evasion, dressed up in Chanel and pearl earrings. The thing is, I didn't want to care. I wanted to laugh it off like everyone else, to drink the wine, smile politely, and pretend I didn't see the giant, glittering red flags waving in my face. But I couldn't unhear what she said, and I couldn't stop thinking about what kind of family I was marrying into. If Janice was this bold, this smug, what else was going on behind closed doors? I felt this weird mix of anger and guilt, like I was betraying David just by thinking about it. But wasn't he betraying me by pretending it wasn't a big deal? So the next morning over coffee and toast, I brought it up. I tried to sound light, breezy, like I wasn't mentally preparing for battle. Hey, your mom said some pretty wild stuff last night about taxes. David didn't even look up from his phone. She always says stuff like that. She's just being dramatic. I pressed a little, told him about the spa day thing, the Botox, the emotional support dog kibble. He just shrugged. Everyone does that kind of thing. It's not illegal unless you get caught. I blinked. Excuse me. Babe, you don't understand how business taxes work, he added, finally looking at me. It's not a big deal. And that was it. End of discussion. He shut me down so fast I almost doubted myself. Almost. But the way he said it, casual, practiced, like he knew this conversation by heart, that's when I realized this wasn't new to him. He'd heard it all before. He just chose to ignore it. I wanted to believe the best in him, but deep down, something in my gut twisted. He wasn't just protecting his mom. He was protecting something else too. And in that moment, something shifted. The girl who used to avoid conflict at all costs, she was gone. Because if no one else was going to do something, it had to be me. So now I had a decision to make, a big one. And no, it wasn't about flower arrangements or seating charts. It was this: do I stay quiet and keep the peace? Or do I do the one thing no one in David's family would ever expect me to do? Turn Janice in. Now, I don't want to pretend this was easy. It wasn't. There was a full week between that dinner and the engagement party. 7 long days where I walked around with this secret bubbling inside me like a shaken soda can. I kept playing out every possible scenario. Option 1, say nothing, pretend everything's fine, marry into a family that thinks tax fraud is a fun little hobby. Option 2, confront Janice directly. Yeah, no. That woman could gaslight the son. Option 3, do it anonymously, quietly, legally. Let the professionals handle it. I hated all 3 options, because deep down, I knew that no matter what I did, I was going to lose something. My comfort, my image as the cool, chill, future daughter-in-law, maybe even David. But I also knew I couldn't live with myself if I let it slide. It wasn't about the money or the law, or even Janice. It was about integrity, mine. So I did it. On a rainy Tuesday afternoon, I sat in my car outside a grocery store and submitted a tip to the IRS. I filled out the online form, calmly, carefully, like I was writing a breakup letter to my old life. I included everything I could remember: her bragging, the context, specifics, even linked to 2 Instagram posts where she openly captioned a spa photo. Business research with my besties, chakras, write it off, chakras, chill life. It felt surreal, like I was doing something dangerous even though I was following the rules. When I hit submit, my hands were shaking. The screen flashed. Thank you for your submission. Your identity will remain confidential. No turning back now. Then came the party. The engagement party Janice was hosting at her lakefront house. Think magazine spread meets humble brag on steroids. There were white tents, champagne fountains, a live jazz trio, and monogrammed cocktail napkins with our initials in gold foil. It looked like the wedding of the century, and it was just the pre-party. Everyone was dressed to the nines. David in a crisp navy suit, Janice in some kind of sequined jumpsuit that screamed, "Look at me, I am the moment." She floated through the crowd like royalty, kissing cheeks, flashing that Stepford wife smile, complimenting people while somehow making them feel small. I stayed close to the rosé. I tried, really, really tried, to focus on the good stuff. Our friends were there. My sister flew in from out of town. People clinked glasses and said nice things about us. But I couldn't relax. Because somewhere out there, I knew there was a file, a report with my words on it, a flag raised, a fuse lit, and I had no idea when or if it would go off. But part of me wanted it to. Not because I wanted to see Janice embarrassed, not because I was trying to make some kind of statement, but because I needed to know that I wasn't crazy, that what I did meant something, that sometimes standing up for what's right actually matters, even if it makes people uncomfortable. I kept looking around the party like someone was about to tap me on the shoulder and say, "Excuse me, ma'am, are you the whistleblower?" Of course, that never happened. What did happen was so much worse. It started slow, a shift in the energy. The music stuttered. One of the servers stopped mid-walk, glancing toward the front gate. And then, two people walked in. Suits, badges, no drinks in hand, no smiles, just business. They scanned the crowd like they were looking for someone specific. I watched them head straight toward Janice, who was mid-toast, microphone in hand, telling a story about the first time she met me. She never finished it. One of the agents, yes, agents, leaned in and said something I couldn't hear. Janice went completely still, then handed off the mic and followed them out of the tent, heels clicking on the marble patio. It took everyone a moment to register what had just happened, and then the murmurs started. Who were they? Are those feds? Did someone call the cops? David turned to me, pale as a ghost. He didn't say a word, just stared, like he knew. I felt a flush rise to my cheeks. Not embarrassment, adrenaline. I didn't know what was going to happen next, but I knew one thing for sure. There was no going back. After Janice disappeared with the IRS agents, the engagement party didn't just fizzle, it imploded. At first, people tried to pretend nothing had happened. The jazz trio awkwardly picked up the next song, a few guests clinked their glasses, someone made a joke about early retirement. But the mood had changed. You could feel it, like the air pressure had dropped and everyone was holding their breath. David stood next to me, stiff, silent, and pale. He wasn't blinking. He wasn't talking. He just stared at the tent entrance like he expected his mother to come back at any second with a smile and a punchline. She didn't. 10 minutes passed, then 20. Eventually, the catering staff began whispering in corners, and the jazz trio quietly packed up their instruments. Guests started leaving in pairs, murmuring awkward goodbyes. My aunt hugged me and whispered, "You okay, honey?" I nodded, but I didn't mean it. I could feel eyes on me. Not all, but enough. People wondering, why didn't she say anything? Was she involved? What's going on with Janice? I kept replaying the moment in my head. Janice, mid-toast, suddenly gone. It felt unreal, like a scene from a movie where someone gets arrested during a wedding and the camera pans to the horrified bride. Except, no one had been arrested. Not yet. And technically, I hadn't done anything wrong. But emotionally, socially, I was about to become the villain in someone else's story. David finally broke the silence. He turned to me, jaw tight, and said, "What did you do?" Not, "Are you okay?" Not, "Can you believe this?" Just that. What did you do? I swallowed hard. I reported her. Simple, honest, quiet. He blinked like he hadn't expected me to admit it, then stepped back, like I'd hit him. You what? She bragged about committing fraud, David. You know she did. You heard her. That doesn't mean you go behind my back and blow up our family. Our family? Like it was some sacred institution I just lit on fire. What was I supposed to do? Pretend she's above the law? Let it slide because she can afford to lie? His eyes were wild now. Not angry, not yet, but scared. You could have told me. We could have handled it together. That made me laugh. Not because it was funny, but because it was so far from the truth. You told me I didn't understand business taxes, remember? You brushed it off. You made me feel crazy for even questioning her." He ran his hands through his hair, pacing now. "You don't get it. You don't know what you've started." That stopped me cold. "What do you mean?" But he didn't answer. Instead, he stormed off toward the house, muttering something under his breath I couldn't quite catch. The rest of the night was a blur. David locked himself in the study. His sister cornered me and demanded to know what happened. I just said, "Ask your mom." Guest kept texting me polite apologies and vague emojis. I stayed in the guest bedroom that night, door locked, fully clothed, staring at the ceiling again. But this time, I wasn't just worried. I was furious. The next morning, the fallout really began. Janice hadn't been arrested, but the agents had left her with a formal notice of audit and a request for extensive documentation. Her assistant posted online that the business was temporarily closed for a systems review. Clients were already backing out of contracts. Her name was trending in a local Facebook mom group with words like fraud and karma. I wasn't celebrating, I was packing, because David hadn't spoken a single word to me since our argument. He didn't yell. He didn't cry. He just iced me out. The kind of silence that feels louder than screaming. So I grabbed my bag and called my sister. "You always said something felt off about them," I told her. "Yeah," she said, "but I didn't think you'd be the one to pull the pin." That afternoon, I went to grab my laptop from David's office, and that's when I found it. A folder, unmarked, tucked behind some books in his desk drawer. I opened it, expecting maybe old receipts or photos. What I found? A digital paper trail, bank statements, cryptocurrency transactions, offshore transfers, hidden income, things labeled as consulting from accounts I'd never heard of. Tens of thousands of dollars moving around with no clear source, no taxes paid, no records disclosed. David wasn't just defending his mom because he loved her. He was covering for himself. He was in on it, or at the very least, benefiting from it. And suddenly everything clicked. His weird defensiveness, his need to control the narrative, his fear when I told him what I did. He wasn't worried about Janice. He was worried about himself. I snapped photos of everything and put the folder back. Then I left. No goodbye, no note. Just one last look at the life I'd almost married into, and a quiet promise to myself. I may have lost the wedding, but at least I didn't lose me. It's been 3 weeks since the engagement party that never really happened. 3 weeks since Janice was escorted away mid-toast. 3 weeks since I walked out of David's life without a backward glance. 3 weeks since I found that folder, the one that confirmed my worst fears. And the silence? It's been deafening. I haven't heard a single word from David. Not a text, not an apology, not even an insult. Just nothing. His sister blocked me on everything. His mom posted some thinly veiled passive-aggressive nonsense on Facebook about snakes in the grass and fake people who pretend to care about family. And I'm pretty sure at least 3 of his cousins are subtweeting me. Whatever, let them tweet. I've been staying at my sister's place trying to wrap my head around everything. And here's what I keep coming back to. I did the right thing, not the easy thing, not the popular thing, not the thing that gets you family Christmas invites or a seat at the holiday table, but the right thing. I exposed someone who was gaming the system for years, not out of desperation, but out of greed. And yeah, maybe the timing wasn't ideal. Maybe dropping a bomb at your own engagement party isn't the classiest move, but that part? That wasn't my timing. I didn't tell the IRS to show up during the canapes. I didn't know they'd act that fast. I thought maybe they'd audit her quietly in a few months. Send some letters, ask some questions. I didn't expect the fire to spread so fast, or for the flames to catch David too. Because that's the thing, right? I didn't just lose a future mother-in-law, I lost a fiancé. And not just any fiancé, but the man I thought I was going to spend my life with, build a home with, maybe raise kids with, grow old with. Turns out I was planning forever with someone who was lying about his money, about his morals, and most of all, about who he really was. And looking back, I think he always knew this was coming. The way he reacted so calmly when I first brought up Janice's shady habits. That wasn't chill. That was controlled. It was rehearsed. He wasn't surprised I noticed. He was surprised I cared enough to say something. The most surreal part? I keep thinking about the toast Janice never finished. She started it with a joke about how David always chooses the smartest girl in the room, and then went on about loyalty, legacy, and keeping it in the family. What legacy? A family legacy of fraud and silence? Not my kind of legacy. And the loyalty she talked about? It wasn't about love. It was about obedience. Be quiet. Be polite. Protect the image. Smile for the camera. Stay in line. Well, I stepped out of line. And I stayed out. So now I sit with the question that keeps popping up in every comment thread and group chat. A.I.T.A. Am I the a-hole for reporting my future mother-in-law for tax fraud? For ruining the party? For blowing up the wedding? Maybe to them, I am. To David, to Janice, to the cousins with too much eyeliner and not enough perspective. But to me, number absolutely not. I didn't do this out of revenge. I didn't want attention or drama or to hurt anyone. I did it because someone had to. Because people like Janice think they're invincible, that rules are for poor people and consequences are for everyone else. Because if everyone keeps looking the other way, nothing ever changes. And because staying silent would have meant becoming part of the lie. I may have lost the ring. I may have lost the venue and the guest list and the illusion of a perfect love story. But what I gained? Peace. And trust me, it's worth more than gold foil napkins and a lakefront house. So to anyone out there who's wondering whether you're the villain for doing the right thing, even when it hurts, you're not. You're just the one with the guts to tell the truth. What would you do? Would you blow the whistle, even if it meant losing everything? Would you walk away from the fantasy for the sake of your own integrity? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because here at Red Flag Radio, we tell the stories most people are too scared to admit out loud. Where the secrets are messy, the drama is real, and the truth always finds a way out. Until next time, keep your eyes open and your red flags raised.